Welcome to Season 2 of Coming Home to Ourselves, where we aim to bridge the gap between the sacred and modern day responsibilities, barriers, and life. I am Denise Alyssa, your host, channel, mystic, and guide, and I aim to empower you to become your own self healer and an embodied co creator of your life, supporting you in shedding what no longer serves and aligning you with your most authentic and connected version of self. Please note that I am not a medical professional and nothing said in this podcast should be misconstrued as medical advice or replacement of such. If you'd like to know more about my background, training, or the workshops, ceremonies, or other work I offer, please visit www.denisealyssa.com. Hi, friends. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our December Winter Solstice podcast episode. I always look forward to these episodes that I just do for you solo myself. I love the card readings that we incorporate in it and some of those self-inquiry practices where I can guide you into yourself a little bit deeper into the shifting of these seasons. And yeah, it's just a nice way to connect with you a little bit differently without a guest, even though I really love our guest episodes too. So, welcome. I hope you all are doing well right now. I know that for me, at the time of recording this, Mercury retrograde is really showing up in big ways in my life, especially in regards to technology. I've been trying all day to record this episode. I woke up to a power outage. I had multiple meetings get moved around, or, people show up half an hour later than what you expect them to because they had a different timeline in their head than what was agreed upon. And it's really interesting to me to observe within myself how I'm moving through that. And, I think this leads kind of right into this cyclical nature of this conversation and into the season of winter. So, for example, this morning I woke up with a clear outline in my mind of how today was going to go, what order I was going to do things in, what time I needed to be where and with who, and what I needed to have done in order to show up to that meeting or appointment in the way that I wanted to or needed to, based on the circumstances. And then I woke up to no power in our neighborhood and in my house. And that's something that really rarely happens in our house. And so, you know, as humans, we all have free will and choice. And yet it can feel as though our nervous systems kind of hijack that free will and that choice at different times. So this morning, I was really observing in myself how differently I moved through this situation, because instead of getting panicked or, you know, messaging my entire day worth of appointments, freaking out, trying to reschedule, trying to control outside situations, or calling the hydro company to see when the power was going to come back on, or trying to find somewhere else to do my meetings from, I just recognized it as this invitation to pause, this invitation to slow down and to sink into myself a little bit deeper, and to just take some really quiet time this morning to just be with myself. And now that doesn't mean that I would have ignored those other action steps should I have been in a position to need to take them, of course. And I did message my first meeting to say, hey, my power's out, not sure what's going to happen. Like, I'll touch base with you later. But the energy around this situation was very, very different than how it might have been in me, say, 10 years ago, where I would have definitely felt the need to control every little thing. And if we go back even further than 10 years ago, I would have felt really uncomfortable with the lack of distraction. And instead, it just felt like this really nice invitation to grab a paperback book because my e-reader was not even charged. I couldn't even read on an electronic device. So to grab a paperback book, one off my shelf that has been sitting there waiting to be read for over a year, I think, and to just sit down and read. And it felt so spacious. It felt like how I used to experience Boxing Day morning before I had kids. Okay, Boxing Day morning before I had kids used to be my favorite day, or one of my favorite days of the year. All of the rush from this Christmas season was kind of over. Like I celebrate Christmas, so depending on what you celebrate, this might look different for you. But for myself and for where I live, we celebrate Christmas, and I don't go like all out for Christmas, but there's still like family dinners and socializing. And back then I was a hairdresser and a barber. So Christmas season was like our Olympics, right? We were working 10 hours a day. We were not taking any breaks. I mean, in that industry, like you don't even stop to go to the bathroom most of the time, let alone eat lunch. You're really taught to ignore all of your body's cues and to just keep pushing through because you just have to get to the next client. And if you don't have a client in your chair that you're actively working on and maximizing your time with, you're not making any money. And there's a lot of kind of like hidden expenses in that industry. So it could just get really tricky. And then you compound that with the Christmas season, and all of a sudden it's your feast time, right? Hairdressing is a very like feast or famine kind of industry a lot of the time. And either you're really, really busy and you're making really good money, or you're totally dead and quiet and slow. And we had different times of the year that were always much busier than others, and different times that we always knew were going to be slow. So the Christmas season was always the one where you were maximizing whatever came your way, right? You didn't want to say no to anyone. You wanted to take all of your clients. You also wanted to serve all of these people who had been your clients for a really long time, who you really enjoyed, and who wanted their hair done for Christmas and for all of their dinners and their parties and get-togethers. So anyways, you get the idea. So then once you get through all of that and you get through Christmas and you get through your family dinners and all of the events, Boxing Day morning would come. And to me, that was the best part. I would wake up, I would go slow. I would, I wasn't a big technology, like I wouldn't turn on a lot of TV or anything like that. I would just enjoy the quiet. I would stay in my pajamas. I wouldn't leave the house that day. I definitely was not facing Boxing Day shopping, so so today did not feel like Boxing Day in that sense to me. Today felt like spaciousness. Spaciousness. I curled up on the couch with my paperback book. I could feel it in my hands. The quiet of no humming, no electrical sounds was incredible for my nervous system. And I just soaked in like every minute of this power outage today. And it only lasted a couple of hours, and it actually ended before my first meeting started. The rest of my day did not go as planned because, again, Mercury retrograde is retrograding. My later meetings and appointments did get kind of moved around. But as far as the start time for my first meeting and the rest of my day, it all kind of continued. So had I been trying to control the outcome there, had I started to panic, had I started to make plans of how to take this meeting somewhere else or how to do this differently, I wouldn't have actually changed the outcome in the external, but I would have definitely missed the gifts within it. And so that's kind of the energy that I want to invite you to lean into throughout this winter solstice and throughout this winter season is Am I getting caught up in like the hustle and the bustle and the like needing to do everything now and needing everything to be a certain way and trying to control all of these external outcomes? Am I missing the gifts within this moment? And what might that look like for me? Hmm. So that's just something for you to kind of keep in the back of your mind as this season progresses. Now, at the time of this episode releasing, it won't be winter solstice yet. I always release my episodes a little bit earlier than that on the first Sunday of every month. So for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter solstice will fall on December 21st. And the themes around winter solstice are all around hibernation and, inner wintering. I don't know if you listened to my autumn equinox podcast or any of my episodes with Eileen March, but we really talk about those inner seasons in there. And actually, Eileen's back on the podcast next month in January. So, really tuning into that inner winter within ourselves and being with whatever that means for us, right? Deepening into rest, allowing those inner processes, that deeper inner reflection. This is a really beautiful time for us to just tune into ourselves in a little bit of a quieter way. Right? This is not a time for big productions. This is not a time for pushing through or, grasping. This is a time to really just slow down, to be with ourselves, to get cozy, and to really allow that cyclical nature to come alive within us. When we give ourselves this season of rest, it really supports the season of spring and summer that are going to come. We cannot be in a perpetual spring and summer and stay well and stay connected to ourselves and stay vibrant, right? When we allow ourselves to deepen into and fully embrace this season of deeper rest, that rejuvenates us so that when we come into spring and summer, we actually have the capacity and the energy that we need to be able to move forward and do the planting and do the growing and expand in whatever ways these next seasons are going to invite us to expand. If we spend all of winter fighting against that nature within ourselves and outside of ourselves, pushing through, continuing in that productivity equals self-worth kind of mode, what energy will we have left when it comes to spring and summer and it's actually time to begin producing? The winter is a time when things are really happening like deep below the surface. This isn't stuff where we're going to like see it on the outside, and that's where a lot of us are often looking for it. This is where things are just going to start to percolate inside of us in a deeper way. This is something that it's unlikely to be seen on the outside. It might be felt within you, depending on how attuned you are to that. But if you're somebody who really needs that external validation in order to see what's happening within you, I would just invite you to get curious about that and does that serve you? And is there a way for you to just be with yourself in a little bit of a different way during this season? Because even some of those really tiny baby steps of just beginning to inquire within yourself can create a significant ripple. I just finished my somatic reconditioning practitioner's certification within the last couple of months with Ryan Rose Evans, and he is always telling us that a 1% change in any area creates this complete course correction, right? A complete change of course. And I remember reading The Compound Effect probably 10 years ago now. And I remember how much of an impact that book had on me as well. That's The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, I believe. And that book had such a massive impact on me to really start to be able to kind of embody that knowledge and that understanding of how much these tiny little shifts actually change the entire trajectory of where you're going, right? So don't feel like you have to suddenly be where you want to be. Just take that 1% shift. This is a time of really embracing the darkness, the quiet, the stillness, something that so many of us are so uncomfortable with. And knowing that that light within you, your own inner light, it's still there. It's going to guide you. And that throughout this period of rest and tuning into that inner light within you, everything within you is going to become strengthened and prepared for your next steps throughout this rest and inner reflection. As we attune to the cycles of nature, we might notice that we instinctively crave like more slowness or more nurturing or more hearty foods and more sleep, really, right? The days are darker. And in society, we tend to really like pathologize that or place labels or judgments or criticisms on that craving more hearty foods and desiring more nurturing or needing more sleep, feeling more fatigued, needing like craving that little bit of extra slowness in your life. Get curious about that. Do you judge these things within yourself? Do you notice when your body is asking for a little bit more rest? And again, this doesn't just have to be within the outer season of winter because we are all going through inner seasons as well throughout the year. So when you are in your inner season of winter, are you judging that? Or are you embracing it? Are you giving yourself what you need during that time? Or are you like pushing through or pathologizing it, criticizing yourself, or, ultimately creating new challenges and new barriers and new patterns that you have to work through later because you're shaming yourself for your natural way of being rather than embracing it? So I'm going to pull some cards for you first, and then we'll get into a little bit of a self-inquiry practice and just see where the rest of this conversation leads, depending on what guidance comes through for you today. So as usual, I'm going to cut out a lot of my shuffling and pieces like that just to keep this a little bit easier to listen to. So if you notice that, don't worry about it. So those of you who are watching this on video will be able to see the card spread for you as well, and you'll be able to see some of the decks. I'll make sure I pop their covers there for you periodically so that you can know where this is from. This deck is the Divine Masters Oracle by Kyle Gray. Spirit, for the highest and best of everyone involved, what messages do you have for the collective listening to this at this time for the winter solstice? Okay, so this Isis actually jumped right out of the deck, Isis reclaiming magic. And so what I'm getting here is that as you really deepen into this practice of your own inner winter, that art of coming home to yourself and coming home to yourself in every single season. So allowing all of yourself to be with you at any given time. And that means not just embracing yourself when you're in your inner spring or your inner summer, those seasons that are more comfortable for us to be with. That is not the only time that you need to be with yourself and embracing yourself and honoring the inherent self-worth that lives within every single one of you. So when we are able to take a little bit of a shift in our lens or our perspective there and begin to honor these processes within ourselves all year round and through all of our own inner seasons, honoring ourselves when we are in this time that society tends to judge and criticize, in this time of needing rest, in this time of wanting more sleep, in this time of needing more nurturing foods and, craving that hardiness and nurturing and fueling yourself with what your body is asking for without judgment, without shame or criticism. As we do this, we are reclaiming ourselves. We are reclaiming our power and our magic, because it is when we are at our most whole that all of our gifts, all of our strength, all of our magic can come out and be shared with the world, whatever that is for you, right? We all have magic within us. We all have these gifts that are within us. They're not all the same. They're not all meant to be the same, right? We are meant to live in a society where every single person's gifts are honored and strengthened and respected, and then each person is able to bring those gifts into the collective, and it all supports the next person, right? We have taken individualizing ourselves, you know, being independent, being able to take care of everything on our own, just a little bit too far, I think, in this society. And when we can really embrace our own gifts, it opens us up to embrace the unique gifts of others. And when we can embrace the unique gifts of others, it gives us this incredible opportunity to allow ourselves to be served by those other people's gifts and held by those other people's gifts. We are not meant to do all of this alone. As we tune into ourselves in this way, we are able to learn about ourselves differently than how we do when we are mainly connected to external validation or to external expectations or society's expectations. And so, this invitation here throughout this time of your inner wintering is to commit to learning about yourself in a little bit of a new way, and just get curious. What arises for you in the stillness? Are you comfortable? Are you uncomfortable? Can you be with that discomfort, or do you have to distract from it? And that's not to say that stillness is the only way to tune into yourself. I think that there are many ways to tune into yourself, and maybe I'll try to get into that later. But it's more about this curiosity, this sense of curiosity about yourself, and allowing curiosity to lead you into being able to connect with these different parts of yourself in a new way, in a more honoring way that invites your wholeness back to you, right? We're inviting all of the lost parts of ourselves to come home and back to our body, and to be trusted there and held there. And by trusted there, I mean all of these parts of ourselves, they want to know that they can trust us to hold them, and not to shame them or self-abandon, or pretend that they aren't there. The deeper that we are able to connect with ourselves in that way, the more our channels of receiving open. And so I want to invite you to keep an eye out for different signs and synchronicities and different things showing up in your life day to day as you tune into yourself in this way, and as you allow that curiosity to guide you. Because as you allow that curiosity to guide you, it might open up new channels of receiving that you're maybe not used to yet. And so that could be like from your higher self, that could be from your heart space. It could be that you are more deeply connected to the earth and feel more grounded than you have ever felt before. It could be signs or synchronicities around like what to let go of, what to bring with you into this period of hibernation, what seeds were planted, previously, that are maybe no longer serving like this next cycle of you, right? And so as you tune into yourself in that way, and you gain that curiosity, and you connect with these signs, different information is going to come to light for you. And I have a feeling that different information might make a really big difference in your life moving forward. That's one of the signs that I'm receiving in this moment as I'm speaking is just this vision. I have this vision right now of you taking this step forward into a whole new way of being, this whole new way of life based on this sense of curiosity and just allowing yourself to be with yourself without judgment and to allow your whole self to come to the party, to allow your whole self to show up and to be held and honored in that way. And I'm just seeing this incredible golden light. It's this beautiful golden light, this this doorway with this white light kind of like shining down through the doorway, and you're just stepping through into this whole new version of yourself. Oh, it's really beautiful. Um, the overall theme, so for those of you who don't know, when I have a card on the top of the deck, it's often the overall theme for the reading, and that's prosperity and vibration. You are attracting health, wealth, and happiness. And so for me, I think that just validates everything that I just said and this vision that I just received. I had not actually read that card yet before receiving that vision. So for me, that's really just validation. We have Lord Ganesh here, and he's the Lord of Abundance. And let's just pause with that for a moment and tune into yourself, tune into your heart space, feel your feet on the floor or your body held by the chair or the bed beneath you, whatever you're doing. If you're cooking or cleaning or driving while you're listening to this, that's okay. Just feel the connection of your body to the surface beneath you in the ways that you can. If you're standing, you might want to kind of spread your toes out and feel your toes on the floor, feel the heels on the floor. And just inquire into yourself, what is it that I may be carrying right now that does not serve me coming into this period of hibernation? What do I maybe need to let go of or release my grasp of so that this golden, beautiful door can open up in front of me, ready for me to walk through it come spring? I'm going to pull from another deck. This is the Sacred Medicine Oracle by Asha Frost, and I just got this deck sometime earlier this year, and I have been absolutely loving it ever since. Yeah. So the theme happened to catch my eye first, because it's the void, and that is what the inner winter is, right? It's this inner void, and that void space is something that is so uncomfortable for so many people. It was so uncomfortable for me for so many years. But the void is this beautiful and potent place that, you know, really deserves to be respected and honored and embraced. And I know that that's uncomfortable for some people, and I was one of them. It was so excruciating for so long every time I was in the void. And then I was able to notice the patterns of how I would go into this void space, and it would just feel like this place of nothingness. And when I got to a point in my life where I was able to really embrace that and be with that, rather than trying to like push through or distract or fill it with something, anything to bring me comfort, right? I was then able to see the magic in it and to really experience the outcome. And so when I now enter the void, I am able to be there more fully, more presently, and to stay with myself. I think so many of us are not taught to stay with discomfort. And there are obviously limitations to this. I'm not referring to like staying in an abusive relationship or staying in something that is not comfortable for you or good for you long term, right? I'm talking about when we feel discomfort and we suddenly need to run or distract or soothe ourselves in ways that do not serve us at all, right? Moving forward, they serve us in that moment because they serve us through the soothing, but they cause havoc in other areas of our lives, right? And so, in being in the void and allowing the magic and the potency within the void, this magic comes from it. This growth comes from it. Every time I come out of the void, I come out a new person. It's like that cocoon phase. And when you're in the cocoon, you turn into this like goo, right? The caterpillar, it turns into complete goo. It like dissolves inside of that cocoon and then it grows into the butterfly and it emerges as the butterfly. But when it is in there, in the cocoon, in the darkness, in the stillness, in the goo, does it know that it's going to be a butterfly when it comes out of it? But when we can become aware of these cycles within ourselves and aware of how they feel in our bodies, we can get to a point where we have that reassurance or that sense within us of, oh, I've been here before. I'm safe. I know what this is. I can embrace this. And I know that I'm going to come out of it more enhanced, different, more beautiful, more educated, more embodied, whatever it is for you, right? And for that situation. So don't resist the void. If you are feeling really uncomfortable in the stillness or in the void, allow yourself to get curious about that and allow that discomfort to be there in the ways that are safe for you at this time. This is all about honoring our own capacity and our own nervous system's capacity, right? And that's going to look different for everybody. So if you truly don't have the capacity to be with that, then soothe yourself in the ways that you need to, but try to find, a healthy way to do that if you can. If you can't find a healthy way to do that, accept that. Be with yourself. Be with whatever it is that is arising within you with acceptance and love. It is all serving a purpose, right? And so through this, you're going to gain access to that deeper wisdom within you. And what's really coming to mind right now, actually, is like this image of how so many of us, for so much of our lives, turn outside of ourselves for wisdom or for support or for knowledge or for answers, right? And often we cannot even answer a question about ourselves or for ourselves within ourselves. We have to turn to friends or to neighbors or to a teacher to ask them and get their advice instead of taking our own. And so that is the invitation here, is to, tune into your own inner wisdom, trust your own inner wisdom, right? Be with your own inner wisdom instead of turning outward for advice. And if you need to turn outward for advice, that's okay, but be with yourself first, you know? And if the advice from other people doesn't feel right for you, then be with that. Be with yourself. Get curious. This is all leading us to, a deeper love, a deeper self-love. Our souls come and incarnate on this earth with this intention of getting to a point of fully loving beings. And then we enter this earth and this human body and we go through this life and we have, shit happens to us and we start to detach from that connection to love, both for ourselves and for other, that unconditional love that each one of us is actually very capable of and that our souls came here to learn. We begin to detach from that to keep us safe and to keep us connected and for all sorts of reasons that we do that. But this is really a calling home, a calling of you home to yourself and back to that innate, unconditional love that exists within you. Okay, so I want to begin a little bit of a process of self inquiry, and it's going to be just channeled a little bit based on that card reading, but let's just see what comes through here. So, again, just tuning into yourself in whatever way that works for you at this time. We're not going to do a full meditation today because that will come in the winter solstice ceremony, the seasonal pause that I offer online. But just getting quiet, tuning into yourself in the ways that you can, and just asking yourself, what am I carrying that is not going to serve me come spring? What is it time to release or let go of the grasp on that I don't want to keep with me in hibernation over the coming few months, or that isn't going to serve the growth of whatever is going to come when I begin to expand in spring? What is going to best serve me and my values come spring, right? This time is all about slowing down and resting in preparation for the growth period, for the period of expansion that spring and summer brings. What is going to serve me and what is not? What am I doing at this time that is in alignment with my values? And what am I doing at this time that maybe doesn't quite match? And this is all said without judgment. There's no judgment for the things that you're doing that are maybe not aligning with your values. It's just about getting curious about it. Why am I doing that? What is it serving within me? Our bodies are really incredibly intelligent beings, and we have all of these different parts of us that come in to protect us, to keep us safe, to, help us be the way that we think that we need to be. And some of these parts are acting in ways that don't serve us. Some of them were created really, really early on in childhood. This is some of the work that I'm leaning into these days through this somatic inquiry style work that I have woven into my existing practice. And we really begin to explore these different parts of ourselves and emotional repression that have come in, and they've played a role and they've served a really important purpose, but maybe they're no longer serving a purpose that is needed, or maybe they're acting on our behalf in a way that is creating other issues in our lives or is not truly serving us anymore. So, connecting with those parts of ourselves, honoring the job that they have been doing, all of the things that they've been working so hard on for us. And then maybe they're ready for another job. Maybe they don't need to do that job anymore. And maybe they can help us show up in our lives and for ourselves in the way that really feels most aligned for us now. So let's see what else is coming through. Is there anything in your life at this time that is kind of dead, or carrying a dead weight? Is there something in your life at this time that needs to be trimmed back so that when spring comes, it has the room to grow and flourish in the way that it is really meant to? Hmm. These could be like projects, ideas, ideologies, patterns, the parts of ourselves, like I had just mentioned. And are there any seeds that are ready to be planted now that need that time of darkness, of stillness, of percolating within you so that when it comes time for spring, they're really ready to like be the first growth to blossom. You know, what is it within your life that maybe a dream or a desire that you have had for a very long time, but it feels big, it feels scary. It's not something that you're necessarily ready to take action on right in this moment. Do you think that you could just plant that seed within you? Set that intention, invite it in, get curious, ask yourself, what's holding me back from this? What would I need in order for this to grow and to really flourish and do well? And then you can invite that in throughout the winter and just be with it. You can just plant the seed and kind of let it be there. It doesn't need to have a lot of attention or time. This is a time of just being. And within just the being, these things start to grow and to take hold and, take on life of their own. And then come spring or your inner spring, when you are ready to begin taking action and to bring this out into the world, it's there for you. It's already rooted. It's already anchored. So winter is a really beautiful time to slow down and to be with ourselves in this way, but not in the sense that nothing is happening. There is so much happening beneath the surface that we are just not even necessarily consciously aware of. And we can invite the consciousness into that so that we can get creative in new ways and to be with those things in new ways. But if you're not consciously aware of them yet, if you're not there yet, be with that, right? Invite that in and just trust that these things are happening for you behind the scenes, within yourself, potentially in spaces that you haven't even been to yet. With that, I wish you all a really incredible winter, a safe and invitation into stillness, and just really that invitation to get curious about what is coming up for you when you are in more darkness, when you are in more stillness. What are you noticing coming up in your system? I'm really looking forward to all of my client sessions this winter because this is a time where we can really explore some of the things that have been hidden in that darkness for a long time and that kind of get pushed below the surface when we're in that inner spring and summer and we're wanting to always be productive and growing and glowing and out sharing our gifts with the world. When we are in this time of quiet and stillness, there's a little bit of a different invitation there to go into the shadows and to be with that in a different way. And there's a little bit less pressure to be as vibrant as we are expected to be in the summer. And I think that this creates a little bit of space, again, just that 1% difference where we can go beneath the surface just a little bit deeper and we can unearth some of what's been lingering under there and maybe holding us back from what we really want to come to fruition. So I myself am really looking forward to this process with my clients and in my groups. There are some changes coming to my work. If you've been following me for a while or you're connected with me through the newsletter, you probably already know, but my work is shifting. I have added in the somatic inquiry practitioner's piece and woven it into my existing practice of energy work and intuitive work and past life regression. And the amount of depth that this new practice is bringing in and allowing me to support my clients in has been really, really incredible. So I'm really extra excited to see what this time of winter brings because I feel like the winter always brings that little bit of extra depth and that little bit of extra shadow work, I guess I'll say, because you're in the darkness. So With that, stay tuned. There's some really big projects happening for me behind the scenes that I can't quite share yet, but I'm very excited about. So please stay tuned for that. Follow on my newsletter if you want to be the first to know different things. That's the best place to be. I'd love to hear in the comments what's showing up for you this winter, and what are you sitting with as you're sitting in that darkness and the stillness, and what are you noticing inside of your body? As always, I hope this served. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I am trusting you to take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. Please be sure to hydrate and care for yourself well, as any of the energetic transmissions, meditations, or self-healing prompts integrate into your system in the coming days or weeks. As with all the work that I do, I ask that this aligns for the highest and best of everyone involved, and I trust that you will only receive that which is in true alignment for you at this time. If this resonated with you, I invite you to consider giving back through your likes, ratings, comments, shares, or subscribes, as those help so much on these platforms. If you're ready to go deeper than what these platforms can provide, I offer ceremonies, workshops, guided practices, and more at www.denisealyssa.com. I look forward to connecting with you there.